Afraid to admit to my GF that I killed 2 PPL during my time in the military.
I, 26M,
have a bit of a complicated past,
specifically pertaining to my time in the military.
Where I'm from,
a third world country, military service is mandatory. You simply can't say no, especially now. At the same time, there are many skirmishes with armed terror groups that the military deals with. I was assigned to a unit that protected government buildings based on intelligence reports. We were once ambushed, right after an incident that had killed 12 soldiers the week before.
We had to shoot frantically because there was no support and we assumed we were encircled.
There were multiple deaths in the guys that set the ambush. One soldier was wounded. After investigations, they determined I killed one of them and hit someone else that also died. Through it was unclear if my bullet was the one that killed him. I was cleared on the principle of self-defense, but my disdain for myself and the military has increased. I've never imagined being a killer myself. Yet here I am. Therapy is helping now. I can say that much. I went abroad and did a master's degree in accounting, and met my GF. After 7 months of dating. Now she's been talking too much about guns and killing. She said, word for word, that she can't imagine being with someone who has killed before no matter the context. I told her that I served, but nothing more. Now I know she'll ditch me the second I do. Which makes me a deceiver? I appreciate any advice. Hi Op, I have a story for you that will hopefully illustrate the flexibility of human spirit and opinion, especially when love is in the mix. A few years ago I was talking with my parents in the kitchen about the morality of abortion. Long story short, both of my parents said they were very against it. My dad even said it should be illegal. Because life is funny. I found out I was pregnant a few weeks later and I immediately knew that I wanted an abortion and I got one. I won't go into all of that. Despite my parents usually being my rocks during hard times. And this was my hardest time yet. I did not tell them a thing because of that offhand conversation we had about abortion. I was heartbroken and in such turmoil because I thought I'd either have to keep the secret forever or risk them hating me. My mom was on a vacation in Europe and I was just at my wit's end because I was in my first semester of law school going through midterms and I was pregnant waiting for my abortion appointment. I finally broke down and went to my dad and told him everything. And say what you will about the politics, flip-flopping of this. But my dad's opinion on abortion flipped completely that day. He said to me, I didn't understand until now. He held my hand and told me he understood and supported me and I just sobbed. We decided to wait until my mom finished her vacation to let her know. I told her when she came back and she said, I would never get one myself but I would have walked into that clinic with you and stood by your side and I am heartbroken that I wasn't here to support you. I realize this is not everyone's experience. But it was mine. I don't know your girlfriend but if she really loves you, she will understand. And in all likelihood, she will feel like a buffoon for making that comment in front of you. Because people say things offhand all the time but when it actually comes down to it with a loved one, people can surprise you. I wish you all the best Op and I hope it goes well. Sorry that you had to go through that Op. Emo, this is a really important piece in her being able to fully understand the significant impact this trauma has naturally inflicted. Feel free to PM if you need someone to talk to. Tie for your service less than 3. You need to get ahead of it. It's far better than she understands this now that at a later point in your relationship. The sooner she gets it the lower the impact will be. Have a conversation with her. Tell her you know she has strong feelings about gun violence. Remind her you served in the military and have seen active combat. Explain that puts you in situations where you need to use your weapon to protect your own life. Hopefully she understands the circumstances. Do you have PTSD and is her conversations triggering you? If I knew someone had gone through what you went through, I would be careful not to talk at length about topic like that. I've been extremely upset about gun violence myself, but there's a huge difference between psychos out there shooting innocent people and a conscript that is defending himself against an attack. I suspect she'd be a lot more understanding than you might think. Being in the military that you didn't have a choice to be in, and you defended yourself. It was shoot or die. Most people who have never been in that situation can't comprehend how it was. That is way different than what is happening in the US with all the shootings. You told her you served. Did she ask anything else? Or leave it at that? So far you have just not shared your war horror. To me, someone defending during war is just that. Defending. You were not the aggressor. If that makes sense. I think your girlfriend is oversimplifying. As a bleeding heart liberal, I absolutely understands where she's coming from. In general, violence is always the worst option. But, in your case, the truth is also that violence was also the best option. It was the only option. One of the things I've seen running around these days is an indictment of some personal responsibility types. You always talk about how you made good choices. But the truth is that you had good choices. Some of us don't. And that's where you were. You were in the military and someone ambushed you with clear intent to kill you. You had the choice of either killing them or letting them kill you. You chose to live. And if your girlfriend is going to get her finger up in her face and claim that this makes you immoral, well, maybe she doesn't deserve to be your girlfriend anymore. This type of guilt can be overwhelming. Oftentimes we are told that this is all in the line of duty and for your country, etc. And it is a hard pill to swallow because you are a human being before all that. If you really feel that you need to share this, then you should just do it. Longer you bury it and find out that she is against this based on her moral perspective, then it wasn't a relationship that would have ended up working out. I am sorry that you are going through this. Sometimes our moral compass are faltered by others. But it isn't how we dwell in that moment that defines us. It is how we accept our mistakes and use that as the drive to move us forward to be even better than who we were. Personally, I have turned to volunteering a lot more. I use my life to give back now after repressing the negative emotions for far too long. Glad that you are getting therapy. I have avoided it myself and it took a big burnout to change my life. Just remember that there is a life after all this. While we cannot change our pasts, we can shape our future. Emotionally, it will be hard to not be held back by our past, but you will get through this over time, as many of us have. Of course many have failed. But all we can do is try. If she can't handle and accept you for who you are, then she wasn't the one for you. You will find someone else in that case that knows that life is shaped funny and we don't just live in a black and white world. Best of luck to you. IDK why people are insulting her in these comments. Her opinions isn't crazy, sorry to say. You guys may just not be compatible. I think for a long-term relationship you are going to need a partner who knows and understands you. And part of that will include knowing what happened to you after conscription and how you feel about it. You were caught up in something against your will and did what you had to survive. It's totally okay that you don't share these details with people until you can trust them emotionally. To understand that, that's not being deceptive, it's having privacy. But, sooner or later you will need to tell her. If you see a future with her, what she has said to you is a childish, overly simplistic viewpoint, but what you are talking about was a complex event. It's easy to oversimplify and make stupid pronouncements when only dealing with hypotheticals. If that's really how she thinks about real events too, she might ditch you. But if she does, she's not the right person for you. So you experienced firsthand that you never wanted to be in the military, never wanted to kill someone, and can barely deal with knowing you did it despite knowing that it was never your choice. You know you aren't a killer, but struggle to identify yourself as someone who isn't a killer because of your experiences. If she also can only see you as a killer, I think you need to give yourself some credit. If you can barely accept that it was never your choice, and if it wasn't for that, you would have lived your entire life without killing, then someone else being unable to accept you doesn't say anything at all about your value as a person or what kind of person you are. So I'd sit and think about that and then tell her. Be ready for her to leave you. Not because she will or because she should, but because it is difficult to identify the difference between someone who has killed and a killer. I'm sorry you have endured this and glad therapy is helping. I will tell you my husband's story from my point of view. My husband is a U.S. Army veteran of Vietnam. He is the kindest man I know. I know he killed in service, though I don't know how many. I suspect it is a fairly high number. I also know that he engaged in hand-to-hand with fixed bayonets, which means he killed close up. He says he doesn't dream, or at least doesn't remember his dreams. But I hear him in the night sometimes. It is a terrible burden for him to bear. Your girlfriend must be aware that your service was compulsory. What you did while serving honorably was your duty. You may want to gently remind her that soldiers are not given the luxury of choice and leave it at that. If she asks, be honest, and let her know that you take no pride in this. Had you failed in your duty, either you or your compatriots might have lost their lives. Then leave it to her whether she can reconcile this. Her statement was made from ignorance of the reality of service. I wish you peace in your heart and mind. No matter the context? Yeah, I know there's people who don't want to kill. But I think there would be cases where you have to kill. And those should not just be zeroed out as if they're invalid. But it sounds like you've gone through it and you don't like it yourself, so it means you both don't want to kill somebody and don't believe that what you do to kill somebody is valid. For example, in your case, you are not even quite okay with the idea that you did it in defense of your own life or those around you. Not just that, but you might have even done it accidentally where you weren't even aiming directly at somebody, but you were just probably shooting wildly. The main difference is that you've actually done it. In my opinion, you need to tell her, because that could be a deal breaker for her and you don't want it to come out years later when you're either in some kind of therapy or when you're having so much guilt from keeping it a secret that you just have to reveal it to her. Tell her and let her go. Find someone who can accept that you were put into a situation where you had to shoot for your life, and that left multiple people dead. She'll tack on, "He lied to me," later and be even more angry if you don't tell her now. You can also tell her that, no matter the context, is a bit extreme. She would definitely kill a stranger who's threatening her kids if it's the only way out to save her children. Kinda the same way you had to go to the military service and shoot randomly to not die. Ask her if she'd shoot someone if they were shooting at her. Her answer will tell you a lot about her. You're not a killer. You served your country. Not even by choice. You did your job and you defended yourself and your fellow countrymen. You are not a killer. A couple of questions. She knows you were in the military, but does she know what you actually did? Like, does she know you were a field soldier, or does she think you monitored radar consoles or were a pencil pusher? If she knows you were in the field, she probably already suspects. She said no matter what the context? Does that include being in a kill or be killed situation? Would she advocate standing there and being shot at without trying to defend yourself? Nothing is absolute. There are always exceptions. Perhaps presenting this to her as a narrative of that day would make it more understandable. We were guarding XXX because there were X number of us. We set up out guard positions. Etc. 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 Suddenly happened and we were being shot at. Yada. 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 There had been an ambush the week before. We lost 12 guys. If they were your friends, tell her about them. Names. Quirky things about them. Etc. We had to return fire that day or be shot down ourselves. When everything was over, one of the attackers had been killed by one of my bullets. I'd also hit another guy but only wounded him. Try to make her feel the fear and desperation you did that day. Make the people you knew real to her. It's easy to say, no matter the context, when you don't know what extreme contexts are possible. Best wishes. Please update us on how everything goes. I know many people who were in the military. None of them talk about how many people they have killed. I suggest you not either. This is not something that most of them, including you, had any real choice in. Brah, you're overthinking this. Everyone would love to shoot some baddies that attack us. You were the lucky fee that actually did it. Wear this proud achievement on your head. Very few of us get to cap some people and be a hero for it. You don't need to advertise this for anyone. Don't need to mention it. But wear it every day with pride.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.